Okay, can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, there we go.
I could hear you.
All right. Okay, so I see we have Dan, Marla, Bill, Eric, Mary, Holly, Stuart D. Peasley, Dottie Durst, Catherine Howard, Tom McGrade. And did I miss anybody who,
Gabriel, Gabriel D'Annunzio.
Gabriel. Okay. Hi, Gabriel. Okay.
I'm on my wife's iPad, so.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that. I was like, that doesn't look like her. Okay. All right. So it looks like we got enough to call the meeting to order. So I think to call to order the March 6, 2023 Woodstock Inland Wetlands and Watercourses regular meeting. Have a roll call of members and alternates present. I'll begin. Mark Parker,
William Rowinski,
Marla Butts,
Stuart Peasley.
all right. Thank you very much. And so we do need Stuart on board tonight to continue with business. So I'm going to appoint Stuart as a voting member for the night in his
You
alternate.
guys, you don't need me, Mark. Come on, you don't need me. You guys just like me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it's all both are true, actually.
I
Okay,
enjoy being here, and I do learn a lot every time. So,
good. Thank you.
one
right.
thing I want to say, I'm sorry to interrupt,
Go ahead.
but if you want me to, I did shave tonight, and I have a haircut. So if you want me to, I can switch over to camera. But if you're okay with this,
I'm okay.
all right. Thank you.
You're,
And
you're
I,
the
and I won't.
you're the SDP on the wall.
I won't. I won't interrupt. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Action on minutes of the previous meeting. Does
Did you
anyone,
appoint Stu?
Yep, he did.
Did you?
I did.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry, sorry. Never mind. I did not see any issues with the minutes. I found them acceptable as read.
With the minutes of last meeting, I've got some, I read it through and I want to note that, and I really just scanned it, but there's a lot of spelling errors, which could be a conflict in the future. I don't know if we want to go through and drill down to that level of detail, but
Yeah,
I
I would
think
like
that-
that.
okay, let me pull it up.
Because words have meaning, so
Yeah,
you
I
can
mean, and
change
they
a
could
no
be-
and
Here's regular meeting, February 6th. Okay. I'll skip ahead. The first one I saw, and I didn't read many. My eyes picked this up, but on item 8, administrative business number 5, last sentence on the page. She suggests a definition of duly authorized agent be placed in the regulations. Just DULY should be the correct term. Correct.
got it.
Um, oh, on the next page, 3, item number 8, number 1. At the, just before the comma, it says exofacial. It should be ex facio, ex officio, something like that. Ex
Ex
officio,
official. Mhm. What line
FICIO.
are you in? You said you were in 8.
Paragraph
Bill
8,
Rosinski noted,
line, yeah, Mark Parker noted that the recuse is only for a particular item. And the meeting does not
Oh,
have to
okay.
end.
so that should be EXOFOCIAL.
EX space
Oh,
and then
ex
OFI,
official.
Yeah.
FICIAL.
ex officio.
Yeah.
No, we're not getting dermatology procedures here.
Good catch.
The
Those
sentence-
just
the sent-
popped out at me. So
Okay.
I'm you know, it means either we've got to ask for more spell check or we've got to scrutinize these minutes more closely than I haven't been, but I think we need to.
Yeah, I usually do. And I usually pick
Yeah.
these up, but I didn't pick these up.
Okay.
Bill Rowinski, the sentence before that number 1 bullet. At the end, it says, then not decision can be rendered as there is no quorum.
Right. Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah. Then
N-
no shouldn't be there instead of not. Yeah.
And then in number 7 above that, the second line, discuss that then next meeting.
So that's what I'm saying. It just, I didn't see these till late this afternoon and I didn't get a chance to go over it more.
Document discussed at, okay, so there should be, instead of at then next meeting, should be at the next meeting. So knock off the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think you could even just take out on that sentence. Marla said that she should have the original documents and be able to redline edit. You could take out redline. Just edit the changes. if
No, that's
needed.
exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did, was I gave you a red line version
Oh.
as well as a final markup
All right.
with no edit showing.
The only other, Bill Rowinski, the only other thing I want to just clarify is that when I was asking Dan Blanchett about the professional engineer designation, and just wanted to make sure in some engineering disciplines, that is a extra certification that you have to do extra exam work to get that title, professional engineer. And just that it was in a previous minutes that it was, he was listed as PE. So I just wanted to clarify. I'm not sure that we really clarified that. And I'm not
Oh,
sure
one-
that it's applicable to his field of endeavor.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. No, he's a licensed PE and qualified to do these kind of drawings. But he does represent J&D Civil Engineering.
Yeah,
So the language should read licensed professional, change the word civil to professional.
Engineer, yeah.
Typically, it's kind of like doctors, when doctors are cited, they don't say orthopedic doctor, they say doctor. And then, so typically when these are referenced, you'd say a licensed professional engineer with experience and training in civil engineering or structural engineering or electrical engineering or whatever kind of engineer you wanted. They're all professional engineers and they all take the same exam
Yeah.
to get their
Well,
license. So,
But in some disciplines, you can work and not be a professional, have a professional engineer certification.
I don't think so. I don't think so. No.
Well, it used to be that that was additional, if you were like mechanical engineer or electrical engineer, that you would have to take go for the extra certification.
For that specification, but for the general PE, it's a state issued license. And
Yeah.
that's all we need to know.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that some disciplines do not require that to do their work. So
Well,
that's
if
why I was
he's,
pointing it out.
no, he's required to do, he is required by law.
Yeah,
So, and he's
Yeah.
met those requirements.
yeah.
So
Right.
Marla, what was the correction we made on page 1? Section 5.
Five.
Pending
5A1, numeral I,
aye.
Daniel Blanchett, licensed professional engineer. So we're crossing off civil and putting in professional.
Professional, okay. Okay, any other corrections to the minutes of last month's meeting?
I don't have any.
I'm good.
Good.
Bill Rowinski, I move to accept the minutes with the changes that we've discussed as amended.
Stuart Peasley seconding.
Motion's been made by Bill Rowinski, seconded by Stuart Peasley to accept the minutes as amended during tonight's discussion. Any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Okay. Roman numeral 5, pending applications, none. Okay. Roman,
I would
Go ahead.
like to, I would like to have the agenda amended to include 2 applications for requests for timber harvest. The first new application would be application number 03-23-01. And it's a request for timber harvest by the estate of Maureen Rosenfeld in care of Charles and Catherine Rosenfeld. And the properties are located off of Rocky Hill Road and 222 Rocky Hill Road. That is motion number 1. Motion, and then as a
sorry,
second part
Marla,
to
can I
that,
interrupt? Is that Rosenfeld or I thought it's Rosenfield.
Rosenfield. Field is
Okay.
correct, F-I-E-L-D, Rosenfield. So that's the first application I would like to have added to the agenda as a new application. The second application would be application number 03-23-02. And that is another timber harvest request by the Wyndham Land Trust for property at 364 Rocky Hill Road. That is my motion, to add those 2 applications to new business, new
I'll second the
applications.
motion.
motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Stuart Peasley to add to the agenda timber harvest on the Rosenfield site and timber harvest the Wyndham Land Trust. I didn't get the numbers, so we can, when we get to them, we'll add that in. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, abstained, so moved. Okay, so we'll put that under new applications.
That's
Okay,
correct. It would be the next item on the agenda.
all right. Okay,
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. It would have to come after the English neighborhood application. I'm sorry,
Correct.
apologize.
yep.
Mhm.
Okay. Then here we are, Roman numeral 6, new applications, letter A. Application 02-23-01. Approximate, 650 English Neighborhood Road. Gabriel Danuzio, map 5707, block 14, lot 5B for driveway, barn, and new single-family home in the Upland Review area. Okay. So we have you representing, Gabe?
Yes.
Okay,
Catherine is here with me too.
okay.
Do you want me to propose, like,
Yeah, what do we got here? And then I want to give the other members a chance to ask you any questions, so.
yeah, we're just, I mean, building a boulder wall along the area that was already pretty much approved like before for their lot here. I'm just extending it further down the lot to include where the barn is gonna be, and they actually turn the barn so that we would have less interruption with the wetlands. Pete parented the design, and I'm not sure if you guys have it there or not, but I have, he gave you a set and everything, so you guys should have something. I'm not sure what, I mean, the disturbance is gonna be minimal. I'm gonna put silt fence in first all the way up. There's silt fence all over the property where could be runoff. And proceed with the guidelines as I construct, there's guidelines on how to construct beginning to end, so that's what I'm gonna follow.
Mark,
So
this is
I
Dan
have a-
Balo.
Dan, go ahead, Dan.
We did receive on Friday, and it's uploaded to the Zoom documents, an extension request from Pete Parent regarding this application.
Is this the one that's titled 2023-03-03 extension request? It says you loaded it up about an hour ago.
Yes, yep. That is the one.
Okay,
So there was an issue with the filing of the Mylars on this approval, previous approval, and there's some question of validity of the issuance of any permit until the property ownership is settled. But I'm not, I don't really understand the situation. So if one of the applicants has anything to speak to that, that would be helpful for me.
I'd like to give a little history and background though on this property. This property was originally submitted as a subdivision request back in November of 2020. And it was under application 10-20-31. Phyllis M. Gilbert trustees in care of John Kennison, 650 Neighborhood Road, a 3-lot subdivision. That subdivision was reviewed by the commission, and a motion was made by me and seconded by Stuart Peasley to accept the proposed subdivision with the understanding that the applicant will return to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency for individual wetlands approvals for lots 1 and 3 prior to the initiation of any construction, and that septic tanks be increased in size to at least 1,500 gallons for application number 10-20-31. And the motion passed unanimously. Tina LaJoy was the commission's agent at that time, and she would forward the minutes to the Planning and Zoning Commission for its reference. And then a motion was made by me and Stuart Peasley to return the application fee associated with 10-20-31 for the 3-lot subdivision, as no legal notice was necessary on the application, and the motion passed. So apparently that application came into the commission to advise the Planning and Zoning Commission as to what its opinion was on the application. Subsequent to that, on April 12th, 2021, at the meeting, there was an update, and Tina LaJoy stated that in November of 2020, when the Inland Wetlands Watercourse Agency approved the application with conditions, members asked that any new information be resubmitted to the agency. Ms. LaJoy cited that information in a letter recently received from NDDH and requested feedback from the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency members. Further discussion ensued according to the minutes. I'm reading from the minutes, by the way. And Marla Butts noted that there seemed to be no changes to the wetlands delineation or topography, and that the proposal remains acceptable with the provision that lots 1 and 3 return to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency for individual approval as stated in the November 2020 IWWA minutes. And then I made a motion to that effect, and Stuart Paisley seconded to confirm that the original IWWA decision in November of 2020 stands without change regarding 10-20-31. And Jay Swan was there at the time, and he abstained, and the motion passed. So the past history on this required the submission of an application. It appears that this lot is lot 3 by looking at the subdivision map, but perhaps, or at least the one that we had at the time. So perhaps the applicant can clarify if this is lot 3 or this is lot 1, because I'm not sure, the lots aren't really numbered on the plan that I pulled up. I don't see a number for what the lot number was,
I never
but
heard
it
him,
appears to be the,
well, I never heard him as lot 1. The biggest one, the 10-acre one, is lot 5. And then the middle one is 5A. And the one that we're talking about tonight is 5B. I never heard him regarded it as 1, 2, and 3.
apparently when the application was made, the engineer didn't have assessor's references. I think you're referring to assessor's reference numbers, that the assessor
Okay.
gave those references. And I'm looking at the original plans that I found them on the website from November 2020. And I was looking to see if they listed what the numbers were. And they don't. So I guess, given what was said in the past meeting, it looks like this lot, perhaps, Mr. Parents, I take it, is not here at the meeting.
No.
No, he's not.
Okay. So, this lot would be the most eastern lot in the subdivision, in the 3-lot subdivision,
Looks
the
like,
one
yeah.
that's before us. Yeah, it's the most eastern
The smallest
one.
lot.
Yep.
It's almost facing Lebanon.
So it's going to
River.
be either lot 1. So either it's going to be lot 1 or it's going to be lot 3 in the subdivision. So it would have had to come back to us for an approval. And the question that I have is whether or not the septic system has a 1,500 gallonage tank, septic
does.
tank, as was, okay. So with all of that, then this is basically would be processed as a wetlands agent approval. But based on the correspondence that was submitted just recently regarding whether or not it's a legal lot or not, I don't necessarily think that that is a fatal flaw for us. We have an application that came before us before that the commission had approved and rendered a decision. If planning and zoning decides that the lot lines aren't correct, then of course he'd have to come back if there's any changes in the design, but I don't see a problem with processing this as a wetlands agent approval, and that Dan can issue it whatever planning and zoning finalizes, whatever it needs to finalize. I don't know how the rest of the commission feels about that.
That's okay with me, Bill Rowinski.
Makes sense.
So what the application entails is all work within the upland review area, the construction of a driveway, portion of the house, and a portion of the barn, and the septic system is outside of the upland review area. I don't see the well is in the upland review area. So the approval would cover the construction of the driveway, the house, the garage, and the installation of the well. And that's what would be approved as a wetlands agent approval. If nobody has any objections, I would make a motion that this application be processed as a wetlands agent approval by the wetlands agent.
Are you guys worried about the boulder wall at all? I have a little boulder wall on the edge there.
It's outside of the wetlands.
Yeah,
So as long as you have proper erosion controls, this is all within the ability of the wetlands agent to handle.
okay, I just want to make sure.
You don't have any discharges. Your footing drain for your house is located in the upland review area. It's not in the wetlands, just on the other side of that little wall.
Correct.
So that's not a problem because this discharging is not directly to the wetlands, and that would be clean water anyways. So I have made a motion to that this application be
motion.
processed as.
Stuart Peasley, second the motion.
Motion's been made by Marla Butt, seconded by Stuart Peasley, to approve this as a wetlands agent, sign off approval. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, abstained, so moved. Okay,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Thank you. Okay. Letter B under Roman numeral.
Oh, you're forgetting you're
Yeah,
forgetting the new applications.
yeah, that's letter B. There was a letter A. So
I thought, sorry.
I'm signing letter B to
Sorry.
be the timber harvest for the Rosenfield piece. What was the application number for that one, Marla?
03-23-01.
Okay. And is that on the one
Mhm. It
drive?
is. It is.
Okay. There we go.
Is there anyone here representing the applicant?
I am Eric Hansen.
Okay,
Eric, what was your last name?
Hansen, Hansen.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
so I have a question. How are you getting to the landing?
On Rosenfields.
Yes,
Okay. It may be easiest for me to show you on my screen. Is it possible to share a screen or no?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Let me figure out how best to do this, and I will do it. So just
Click on share screen at the bottom of your window. There we go.
I did.
You're getting a little glitchy, so your internet connection may be breaking up.
Yeah, Eric, your face isn't moving. There you go.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay, I don't know what happened. Can you see my screen as well?
yes, Wyndham Land Trust property, Rosenfield property. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So the question was, how are we going to be accessing the landing? There's actually going to be two proposed landings. So up here on the top is Rocky Hill Road. There is a barway and a farm road here. Can you see my cursor moving as I'm moving it?
yes, yes.
Okay. So we're going to be coming in off from Rocky Hill Road here, and then right before this hedgerow starts, there is another barway, and right where this green icon is, that's going to be one of the landings. So we're going to try to get as many of the trees along the roadside that you can safely get from Charlie's property, as many of the ash trees down and processed. That's going to be one landing. And this whole thing right here is an access road, pre-existing. And there's another access road that goes all the way down from here, all the way to this landing here.
What's a, sorry to interrupt, Eric, what's a barway?
Barway is a space within a stone wall. So
Okay.
if you have the continuity of a stone wall is like this, a barway is where you can go through.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. So that's going to be one of the landings, and all the wood from down here. So basically on the Rosenfield property, there's going to be 4 different blocks of harvest. One down here, one here, one here, along the roadside, and then this biggest block here. There's going to be probably a couple of skid roads in this area that'll lead right to a landing just to the southwest of where this big block is. That has those roads have not yet been laid out, but those are going to be the primary ways. Does that answer your question?
Yes. And I have another question.
Yes.
Where the R and the P is for Rosenfield property,
Yes.
that's, that graphic says wetland soils.
Yep.
Does that mean there's wetlands, or is it just, I don't know, I don't understand what's defined, because otherwise you're showing a crossing potentially of a wetland.
So you can see this area in here that has a little bit of open water showing underneath the wetland soils icon. Do you see that?
Yep.
So this is a pond, and there is an existing causeway right here. And we'd be
Okay.
using the causeway to get from one side to the other.
Okay.
So there is basically a drainage swale that's armored, and he'll be bridging that with bridge mats. But it's going across on the top of the causeway.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
So let me ask you to clarify again. So you're going to be using something like a corduroy road. It's not a corduroy road, but you said you're using bridge mats. So those are
yep.
wooden mats that go across
Correct.
that you
Yep.
can, you bring in, you lay down, so you reduce the amount of rutting. Is there any flow in that area? Is there any defined channel?
Not so there. It's the outflow from the pond, and basically, like I said, it's armored in there with stone, and I don't know if it's always flowing or not, if I'm honest.
Okay. So your time of harvest for using that crossing across the wetlands will be when, do you figure?
So in the application, we said that the harvesting would be sometime between August and December. The primary, or excuse me, this coming August to sometime in January, and that's for, we put a blanket statement for both of the properties here, which we're going to be doing concurrently. So I would say at any point in time between August and January is our planned time of operation.
Okay, so if it's in August, it'll probably be fairly dry. The concern would be is if there's flowing water and you're running across it with tracked vehicles or tired vehicles that have a lot of sediment in them, it could migrate down. But if there's water going across the crossing at the time, but if it's dry at the time, it wouldn't make a difference.
That is true. Yep. And so the good news about using the bridge mats is we'll be up on the banks of either side, and there will be no sediment getting in. There's going to be no equipment actually operating within the channel.
Okay.
In addition to that, there is so they're gonna be using a forwarder to take the wood, and it's probably gonna be 3 trips or fewer in total to get the wood from this side over to this side.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How many board feet do those forwarders carry?
So let's see, I think it's around 1,000 to 1,500 feet per hitch.
Okay.
Any other questions about the Rosenfield property?
I'm all set.
I'm good.
I'm all set.
Okay.
Mark, I move to approve, request for timber harvest application 03-23-01 on the estate of Maureen Rosenfeld in care of Charles and Kathleen Rosenfield on properties off of Rocky Hill Road.
Second by Bill Rowinski.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski to approve timber harvest application 03-23-01 for the Rosenfield property. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed, abstained, so moved. Okay. Okay, Eric, I guess you're probably still on for the Wyndham Land Trust piece.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
So there's a handful of things to discuss here. First of all, again, we're looking at Rocky Hill Road here. There is there's a gated access road that comes just off from the southern side there. We're planning on having the landing just to the west of that road. There is a small, about 12-inch culvert and a drainage ditch that the access road runs over. We're planning on extending that temporarily by about 20 feet so that they can get log trucks in and out. And the landing is going to be basically right in this area. And it's possible that someday down the road that will end up being a parking area for visitors to the property to be able to access the reserve. But as of right now, it's just going to be a temporary landing. And then the plan is, like I said, once the operation is over, to pull the culvert and restore everything back to the way it was. It has been discussed between us and the contractor that they may not end up using a culvert, and they may end up using just doubled up bridge mats instead to be able to get the trucks in and out, which if they do, would be even easier at the end there.
So is this classified, Stuart Peasley here, is this classified as wetlands or just soils?
It's not mapped as wetlands, and it's basically just a human-made drainage ditch on the south side of the road there. So basically, do you see where that green icon is?
Yeah, the landing area.
Yeah, it's running from about here where my cursor is to about here where my cursor is, and none of it is in the mapped wetland area. And if I'm honest, it doesn't present as wetlands when you're there.
Okay. So why am I seeing, so what's that, again, what's that icon that we're?
This green icon is the land.
No, the blue designation and
That's the access road.
No, the looks like water.
Oh yeah, those are the mapped wetland soils.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yep. Yep. So this is basically in two main blocks here on the Wyndham Land Trust property. It's going to be the treatment is going to be a combination of thinning, single tree, and group selection, and some small patch cuts. This right here, this icon is an existing culvert on the access road, and we're planning on using basically this portion of the access road to be able to bring all the timber from here over to here, and we'll have a major forwarder road, well, the only forwarder road actually, just paralleling this road so that there's limiting damage to the access road. It's mostly high and dry in through here, so there shouldn't be any issues there. There is one very small crossing that's going to be in here. The last time this was harvested, oh, I don't know, maybe 20 years or so ago, they used a crossing in through here, and you can see how the wetland soils kind of widen out there. We decided to go a little bit further north. There's it's a much narrower and discrete channel there, and it's rocky on the bottom. So again, similar to what we discussed over here with the bridge mats, we'll be bridging that as well.
So Stuart Peasley here, the forwarders weigh probably about 12 to 15 tons loaded.
Yeah, so they're pretty heavy, but their PSI, believe it or not, is 8 to 9.
Because of the size of the tires.
Yep.
We got 3 axles, or
I think he's got 6 tires on that. Tom, are you
Yeah.
on the call?
Yes, I'm here, and it actually has 4 axles,
wow,
and it weighs about 40,000 pounds fully loaded. So I think it's a little more than 15
20.
tons.
20
Yeah.
ton. Just wondering the impact on the wetland soil, or what we call it, wetland soil, is that?
Right
Not
here
wetlands, but
where the crossing is there,
yeah,
it's going to be extremely minimal because the bridge mats will be there. So not only is the PSI for the actual machine really low, but they're also going to be traveling on bridge mats, which will be removed as soon as the operation's done. So there will be no visible and certainly no long-term negative impacts there. And you can see this area in through here, although it's within this eastern harvest block. There's trees basically marked up to the edge there, but there's not going to be any operation in the central part of that area. So this wet area is going to be avoided with equipment.
all right.
So Stu, I've been looking at the Woodstock GIS.
Yeah, I've
Looking
got
at the
it.
aerial photography. Yeah, and there doesn't appear to be any channel in those wetlands.
Okay,
So those bridge mats should be just fine, no problem. As far as no long-term, there might be some compression of the soils, but as over time, those soils can rebound anyways. So one thing I will note though, Dan, if you talk to the assessor again, the GIS at 5-foot intervals is not adequate. I was trying to pick up, where the channels were. And at 5-foot intervals, you cannot pick up a channel that's a couple of feet deep. You just can't see it.
I'm
The
sorry.
aerial photography does seem to.
Sorry
Go
to
ahead,
interrupt.
sir.
I'm just wondering, I'm just getting used to the GIS, and this one, where's the photographic layer?
It's up in the upper right-hand
Oh.
corner. It'll be a box with 4 squares. And then you
Oh, got
click
it.
that
Oh,
open and it'll give
okay.
you imagery, ESRI imagery with labels, ESRI street, ESRI, topographic ESRI.
Excellent, thank you.
And that's one of the problems that I have with going to the 5-foot contours is you can't see sufficient detail
Right.
to know what's going on the lay of the land, but the aerial photography helps some. So I don't see a problem with this timber harvest. And I did confirm that that existing crossing that you have on the Wyndham Land Trust, it does show on the aerial photography, that crossing across that intermittent water course. Looks like it's intermittent water course. I don't see a problem with this one either. Mark,
So
I
I-
move to
I-
approve, go ahead, sorry.
I don't know if I mentioned this, but even though it's an existing crossing,
Mhm.
with a culvert and earth on top of it, we're also planning on just putting bridge mats on top of that to limit any sort of potential disturbance to the culvert or the soil above it.
That's probably wise to distribute the weight even more, because you don't know how patent those culverts are.
Yep.
And if you crushed it, then it would not, they wouldn't be too happy about that. You'd have to
Right.
probably replace it, so.
It depends on the weather too. Yeah, good.
So
You want
Mark,
me
I'm
to-
gonna move to approve. Go ahead.
Do you want me to stop sharing or should I keep the map up for now?
No, keep it up for now. I
Okay.
don't mind. I move to approve application for timber harvest 03-23-02 on the Wyndham Land Trust property at 364 Rocky Hill Road as a use permitted as of right under agriculture.
Second by
second.
Bill Rowinski.
Oh, you beat me to it, Bill.
Sorry.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski to approve timber harvest application 03-23-02. Wyndham Land Trust property. As a use permitted as of right, agriculture. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Uh,
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. Appreciate your time and thanks for taking this on relatively short notice.
You're welcome. Yeah, you can unshare your screen now. There you go.
Did I do it?
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Thanks, everybody.
All
all right,
right.
have a good
Thank
one.
you.
Take care.
Okay, Roman numeral number 7, administrative business. Letter A, review of bylaws.
Mark, this is Dan Malo. I haven't been able to apply the edits, but I can do so next time I'm in the office and share them around with the commission prior to the next meeting.
Dan, I thought all the edits on the bylaws were already provided. The red line version.
I'm sorry.
And the
Yep. I'm
black
speaking about the
line.
application. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So the copies that you had, I gave you guys 2 copies. One had the track changes turned on so you could see where all the changes were. And that was posted in the documents online. And then the second document, I turned off all the edits so that you would see what it actually looked like if you approved it. That's the second version. And it has the correct date, today's date, if we approve the changes. I did make a couple of minor changes beyond that, which we had talked about while I was creating the red line version. I noticed that there was some missing statements. And I think I told you in the emails what they were, allowing the duly authorized wetlands agent to issue notices of violation. The current bylaws only referenced enforcement orders. So I added that in. And then I added one other thing I found. Oh, about Zoom meetings on page 3. That the regular meetings shall be held on the first Monday of the month. And I added either in the town hall or virtually via Zoom or in a hybrid format via Zoom. Because we didn't have any reference to doing anything by Zoom. It only said it was at town hall. So I added that language. Everything else was what we had talked about before.
So
And it is the
one
correct or
question, Marla. Do we want
Mhm.
to link ourselves exclusively to Zoom? Or should we use a more general term there?
I think if we had to change the type of, like, if we went to Teams,
Yeah,
I think we would change our bylaws, because I think everybody is into Zoom at this point in time, because they have to purchase licenses to create the Zoom recordings and the Zoom meetings. So I don't see the town making that change any. Dan, have you heard of any interest in changing the format, the virtual format from Zoom to anything else?
Just back to in person, but no other alternative digital format.
okay, I'm good with that.
What is the horizon for in-person meetings?
We can do them anytime. Nothing's stopping us as of, I believe it's what, the emergency went off in, going off in April or May? Going off the end of April?
Hmm.
The federal government.
So we're okay to continue
So-
as we're doing.
Yeah, but I don't mind going in person. The only thing is that then we would have different recordings. It was easy for me to do the research on the English neighborhood case
Hmm,
because all the documents were on Zoom, were posted for the Zoom meeting. And those normally wouldn't be posted if we were in person. Although we could change the way we do business and say, if we're going to have documents, rather than sending out paper copies and paying the email, paying for the mail to have it delivered to us in advance, we could continue to have them posted online and then just have copies available at the meeting, hard copies, whatever we thought we absolutely needed.
I think, speaking for myself, this is far more efficient. I can have all three screens up. I can be looking at the minutes. I can be looking at Access GIS. I can be looking at, you guys at the same time. So it's terrifically, I don't know, maybe terrifically is too much, but it's really maybe more efficient than an in-person meeting. I don't know.
Well, one of the things in the room that we normally have our meeting doesn't have historically, it was in room B downstairs, and it didn't
Yeah.
have a TV screen.
Right.
But lately we've been meeting, when COVID hit, we've been meeting in the room A, I think
Meeting
it
room
is.
A, yeah.
And that has a TV screen. So one of us could link up to the internet and actually have the documents show up on that screen. I think that's something we could investigate. So
Hmm.
that if we wanted to do some research on the fly while we were viewing the application, we could do that. There wouldn't be a visual recording though of, like in Zoom, you get a recording of it. You wouldn't have that in an in-person meeting. You just have a tape recorder or, recording device that would just record the sounds.
The Planning and Zoning Commission runs a hybrid meeting in that room with a device called the OWL. And it captures all the attendees in the room, the audio, and allows, it ties in with the Zoom platform to actually run a meeting both ways, essentially. It covers more attendance. That's also a possibility if you wanted to maintain some aspect of the Zoom, because there are benefits, as Stuart said.
Is that available through Crystal, Dan? Or because I've seen I've gone to other town zoning meetings and it's it's a hybrid format, and it's pretty amazing, actually. Is that available through Crystal, or how do we?
Yep, I actually in my office, I'm the keeper of the OWL device, and they borrow it on occasion, and but its primary use is with the Planning and Zoning Commission, but it's any commission can realistically put it to use if in that large conference room.
Well, it makes more sense for them because they have certainly larger gatherings than we do.
Yeah, unfortunately, the large conference room is the only one with the audio visual capacity.
Equipment, yeah. Well, I don't know, Bill and Mark, what do you guys think?
Well, I like to have access to the computer to look things up. I don't have 3 screens. Most of the time I prefer looking at paper, especially engineering drawings.
Yeah, me too.
So, it's kind of would like a hybrid of things. Even the applications, I oftentimes print them out in advance if I think I'm going to want a reference to them during the meeting. So I'm still
Well,
doing
yeah.
paper, but I would still want to have access to a computer also.
So I think when we've had in person during COVID, the few times we did it, only twice, I think, I brought a laptop with me and I could connect to the town's Wi-Fi and use my Wi-Fi while we were talking.
True.
So I think the posting of the documents makes some sense, because then you could call it up on your screen ahead of the meeting, but then having the hard copies actually at the meeting, rather than mailing them out, if for whoever does attend. We're not that large of a group, so it's not that much to make copies, particularly if it's like 11 by 17 size.
Yeah.
I don't know if the town can make those or not, but I don't know what the capacity is for copying is at town hall, or what we request of
got-
applicants.
They've got wide format, 11 by 17, whatever. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
they
but I
can
don't know if they can produce, I don't know if they can produce the full plan sheets from a PDF, like the 2x3.
I think they can, right, Dan?
We do have a plotter device. I haven't attempted to print 11 by 17s at the town hall on our copy machine, but it should have that capability.
Yeah. Well, if
Anyways,
it's-
however we
I mean,
conduct our meetings, the bylaws are set up to be able to do it any which way you want.
Well, here's a suggestion that may be of interest. I think that if we had an application that had a very high level of detail, and that's the key word. What's the level of detail on a given application? If we had a high level of detail, then we may want benefit from the hybrid meeting. But like tonight, these were not real high level of detail applications. So it's just as efficient to do what we're doing.
I would agree
So-
with Bill, though. I like to look, I had to keep enlarging it on my screen. And I like to look at things in its entirety. So having a
Yeah.
larger scale plan, I actually printed it out in 11 by 17, and I still couldn't read everything, but it was
Right.
close enough. I could look it up on while we were talking during the meeting. I could zoom into the area that I had concern about. But I do like, for those that have a lot of details on them, and the fonts that they use on some of these plans are so small that
Yeah.
they're hard to read in a digital fork, unless you enlarge it a lot, and then you lose where you are on the plan. So there are times when I'd rather have a large plan, but then we could identify those, and if the documents were posted on the webpage, like we've been posting for the Zoom documents, we could look at them in advance and then notify Dan we would like a full-size copy when we have our meeting.
Correct.
I mean, that might be the best way to do it, to save on copying and mailing. Because everybody knows the town doesn't have much money, and they're talking about rescinding Prop 46, so we got to save as much money as we can.
Of course. Well, I'm in agreement with everyone. I prefer the tactile ability to be able to look at something right in front of me, and that's best usually. But yeah, it's economics 101 here.
Did anybody else have any comments regarding my suggested changes?
I don't
I
have anything.
thought it was
Otherwise, I'm
pretty
gonna move-
straightforward. I didn't.
Can I make a motion to move to approve the bylaws as amended and revised to March 6, 2023?
Second by Bill Verwinski.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski to approve the IWWA bylaws as the March 6th. Is that document in there? I'm looking at one that says revised 3/1/21, but that doesn't seem right.
No, you're not looking at the right one.
Oh, okay.
The one that, the version that has no red line at all, that's looking at the final copy says revised to March 6, 2023. And that's what the footer says also. And that's what would be given once the commission approves it, that's what would be sent to the town clerk for filing. That
Okay.
version.
All right.
Marla, is that file name the one that says no red line?
Correct.
Thank you.
I did a quick scroll through, and on page 3, this the wetlands agent and or clerk is still in red. Do we want to change that to just all black font, or?
Well, no, it is all in the version that has no red line. That is all in black ink. You're looking at the red line version. So the
No,
red
it's a-
line version puts,
The black line version has it,
The black line version has it too,
let me look at the,
just on page 3 in the
Hold on,
first
let me-
line.
just on page 3 at the top.
let me look. And are you looking at paragraph D at the top?
Yes,
Where are you looking? It's not in the version that I downloaded from the internet, from the
Well,
documents.
I'm looking at the document that's posted on the OneDrive, and
All right, let me go there. I will go there. All right, so I gotta go to government, Inland Wetlands Commission. Where are you? Inland Wetlands Commission, okay. And then go to Zoom meeting documents. Click
Yep.
here. Because when I downloaded and printed it off, it didn't have it. Bylaws, application form.
bylaws and application forms.
Draft revised bylaws, no red line.
No red line. Yep, open that up.
Okay, I'm gonna open that up,
Look on page 3.
and you want to go to page 3. Interesting, because when you print it off, it doesn't show it as red line.
Okay,
Interesting. Well, I can correct that. It's just a Scrivener error. That's weird. That's weird. That
Could be
means
how
the font
could
is
be how the
red.
printer is set up.
yeah, it's not
No,
redlined, it's in red font.
It's red font, so
Yeah.
it wasn't redlined. So I'll fix that and get that
Yeah.
to Dan with a correction,
Okay,
and so he can have it. Yeah, that's weird. I must have started working it with a change in font and then figured out to turn on track changes
yeah,
in Word. All right, I'll fix that. Because that was added language.
okay. So yes, having that clarification, any other questions, discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
aye,
Aye, opposed, abstained, so moved. Thank you. Thank you for all your work on this, Marla.
You're welcome. It's what I'm good at.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah. Your gifts are appreciated.
So, so Dan, I will send you the revised version by Wednesday, that so that you can print it out and give it to the town clerk for filing.
Sounds good.
Okay. Discussion of application permit fees. Okay, now that's what you were talking about, Dan, right? You don't have that. Or do you? Oh, that was the application for permit that you still have to do some work on?
Yes, the permit application, I still need to do some work on. I think the fees mentioned. Marla, were we gonna review what you were working on in Thompson?
Yep, we can do that. Because I think it's it's just as appropriate for Woodstock as it is for Thompson. So all the effort, well, what we should do is go through and try to see if the time estimates are the same for the amount of time that it takes to do the logging in, because you do have a clerk and the clerk has a different cost and she does some activities. I don't know what she does for wetlands. So yeah, we could sit down and talk about that separately. So when we come together next month, maybe we can have a suggested identification of costs, application processing costs, so that the fees could be adjusted to match the cost of processing an application in accordance with the statute.
Okay,
Because definitely we're losing money right now.
absolutely.
So Mark, I think it's just appropriate that we put this off till next month.
Yep. We'll put this on next month's agenda. Okay. Do we still have some citizens that would like to share in citizens' comments? Let's see.
Yes, hi, my name is Mary Hawley. Oops, my camera not right. I am considering buying a lot on English Neighborhood Road from Robert Norris. It's a 3A. And I'm looking for some guidance from you before I do this. I walked the lot and there's I don't know what you want to call it, like a ponding of water, which has leaves in it, and there's some trees that are growing there. I don't know whether it's runoff. I don't know what kind of water it is. I did speak with Dan very briefly. And what I'm looking to do before I invest in the soils testing, which is what he's told me I should probably do, but it's $700. So I was hoping that you could answer me a couple questions. I wasn't sure. He had said something about 125 feet. I don't know if I'm using the right word, buffer from wetlands as to where you're going to do something. And does that apply for just a house or all buildings?
Any earth moving work.
Any earth, right?
Any
Okay,
clear
so even
cut.
agriculture. Okay.
But
Now-
that doesn't necessarily mean you can't do it. That means that we have to review it and perhaps give guidance on it if necessary.
Okay.
Unless Marla has a different opinion.
No,
It's
that's
a-
true.
It's called an
But I'm not
upland
sure-
review area.
Was this part of the subdivision that was that we talked about earlier about it at 650 English Neighborhood Road?
don't
That was a
know.
3-lot subdivision.
It might have been. There was a rear lot and a lot to the right. No, I
That's
think
not
the
the same
original,
one.
the original one was 3 lots, then they cut that in half. This is 7 acres out of 22.
So do you have the assessor's reference for this property?
Yes, I do. It's 5707 33A.
Should be no more numbers with that. I'll dial that into the GIS to see what I can see.
5707, and then it's 0303A.
Okay, why didn't it go in? All right, let me try it again.
Okay.
7-03-3A. See if it gives it to me. Their numbers are usually, it says match not found. All right, but you're
I'm
on,
having that trouble too.
yeah, so, but I'm gonna look at English neighborhood and I'm looking, you said it's lot 3A?
3A, correct.
Yeah, no matches found.
Working a little slow, sorry. All right. Do you know what road it might be near? What other road it might be near? Is it near Brickyard
Yes.
Road or Lebanon Hill?
Yes,
It's near
Brickyard Road. Mhm.
Okay. Let's see. Lot 3A. It's on the north side of the road and 03A is what it's listed as.
Right.
Okay. And let's take a look at the aerials. It's thinking. Okay, this
Takes
is
a
a
while.
forested lot. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
forested lot. It's 7.87 acres.
Correct.
Sound correct to you? Okay, now I want to turn
Yes.
on the topography. This is where the topography of 2-foot contours would be really helpful, but we only have them in 5-foot contours right now. All right, where on this property are you concerned about? How
To
far
the
back from the
right-hand
street?
side up front. So it'd be to the right side of the property and it's up front, not far from the wall.
Okay, so right in the, it looks like, let me just say, hold on a second. Looks like right in the middle of the property could be vernal pool, could be standing water. It's on the aerial photography, which is taken when the leaves are off the trees.
Mhm.
It's in an area where it's near some pines. There's some pines that may be surrounding this low area. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now's the time when you'd want to identify if that is a wetlands, if there's wetland soils there. It's the actual character of the land that determines whether it's subject to regulation. So what you might want to do is the person who is offering the property for sale, have they had a soil scientist delineate any wetlands or had a soil scientist look at the property?
No,
Then
he's
what
an
you
older gentleman. I don't think he plans on doing that. That would be up to me.
Okay, so yeah, so then what you might want to do is you might want to have it, rather than having a soil scientist actually go out and flag it because you don't own the property, you might want to check with the property owner, see if he has any objection to you having a soil scientist go and take a look at it and giving you advice. It may not be very big, given it's 7 acres in size, depending on what you wanted to do, you might be able to work around it, because if it's wetlands and with the size of the lot, the likelihood of you getting to fill that area is probably pretty slim. Because you have so much other area there that looks like it's probably non-wetland. It might be a vernal pool. And if that were the case, if it's considered a standing water body, that's when it goes to 125 feet. Normally, if it's just wetlands, it's 100 feet, correct? Mark, am I correct on that? 100-foot setback unless you're next to a water course, and then it's 125 feet.
That's what I have. That's what I have. It is,
Yeah,
that's
that's
correct.
what, yeah, that's, yeah. So if this has standing water for more than just a storm incident, it might likely identify as a vernal pool and might class as a water course. So the setback from that would be 125 feet. Doesn't mean you can't do anything, work within 125 feet, just means you have to get an approval to do any earth moving, clear cutting, or construction work. And any good engineer who would be designing up, your house location,
plans.
septic, all that other stuff, would be able to give you that advice. Should be able to put that on a plan, and you'd have to have a soil scientist do a delineation anyways, or have a statement from a soil scientist that there are no wetlands on the property. So having a soil scientist look at it now when you're interested in purchasing it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Okay.
And there are soil scientists. You can find the name of soil scientists.
Dan already
in
gave me
the-
one.
Okay, well, he technically can't recommend anyone, but the ones that commonly have come through here. You can find them in the application forms that they have. The ones that I'm most common that I've seen have been Margaret Washburn and Joe Thoreau, but there are others, and they are available for identification through the Southern New England. It's the SSSS. It's like got 5 or 6 S's. The Southern New England Society of Soil Scientists.org. And they actually have a
Okay.
listing of all of the soil scientists. If they are on that list, they are qualified as a soil scientist, but they don't have to be on that list to be qualified. It's just that those that are on the list are clearly meet the standards by the federal government for soil scientists.
So I have one more question about the water itself. So if it is a vernal pool is what you thought it may be, can I do anything with that, or is that off limits? Can I make it into a pond? Can I put water pumps in it to keep the mosquitoes away?
If it's a vernal pool, it will disappear by July.
Right.
The water
Okay,
table drops. That's what vernal pools do. But they're breeding areas for wood frogs and salamanders. And the time to look at them is usually in April and May, because they start breeding usually the first warm rainy night in April. I don't know
okay.
if it's going to be a little earlier this year because of the weather. So, and the wood frogs sound like ducks. They sound like quacking.
Yep.
So
Okay.
if you hear something that sounds like a duck that's quacking and you can't see any ducks, it's probably a wood frog
Wood frog.
calling its mate.
Okay.
And in most vernal pools during the summertime, the water will recede. It'll, and then what is just left is kind of a depression that looks like a lot of leaves. But if you look at the surrounding trees around that depression area where it forms, you'd see the kind of a ring or a waterline ring, dried out, and that's what you could tell, that's classic vernal pool, structure where it's wet in the winter months and the spring, but then it's kind of, dries up and it might be mushy, wet leaf area.
Okay.
So the
And
soil
it just does that
science,
every year? It would do that every year?
Yeah.
It would
Yep.
always get wet in the winter and always get, okay.
so the soil scientist would be looking for a certain type of soil in that area that has certain characteristics. So that even if the water wasn't there, that would still say it's a vernal pool or a wetland.
Right.
Okay. All right, well, I'll ask him if he can give me advice. I don't want to buy something, obviously, and then find out I can't do anything with it. So I'm just trying to get advice before I jump into that problem.
Now, vernal pools are real sensitive to the import of nutrients. So basically you don't want lawn draining to them that has fertilizer on it. They're real sensitive to nutrients coming in if it's a true vernal pool, but you're coming to the time of the year when you'll be able to, find out if it is or not.
Right.
And some soil scientists can identify vernal pools for you, but you have to wait another month or two before the breeding time starts.
I don't know if I'll wait that long. Okay, yeah, I wouldn't put a lawn.
Well,
in.
at least you'll find out if at least you'll find if it's a wetland or not.
Right.
You should have a
right.
soil scientist take a look at it for that at a minimum.
Yeah. I wouldn't put a lawn in anyway. I mean, I'm planning on farming back there a little bit, small scale, some hoop houses and stuff like that on the upper levels and around back. But I'm not really going to get too close to that. I'm just worried that I won't be far enough away from it to put my house. That's the only thing I'm worried about. The rest of it, I know what I'm doing won't be harmful. So. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Yep, you're welcome.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. So Dan, could you you posted up there the memo that you sent to the selectman's office? You might want to explain to the commission what's going on with that.
Sure. So there's a bunch of other responsibilities that I'm holding on to for the town for right now, including the zoning board of appeals and the planning and zoning commission. I've asked Crystal, our human resources, if I could scale back some of those responsibilities. They're hard to meet in 20 hours a week, all of them. But I appreciate mostly the work I do with this commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals. The zoning matters are a full-time job in themselves, and logistically, it's easier for me to ask to shed those responsibilities and scale back my hours for the town that way. So I've put in that notice, and Crystal has invited me to stay on to help with the wetlands. It'll probably be 5 to 8 to 10 hours a week, depending on how many responsibilities that I still keep. We've mentioned Zoning Board of Appeals. And there's other potential possibilities if grant writing and other things have been brought up, but wetlands is still on the table for me, and I'm happy to keep working with you guys.
So Dan, you have a clerk that works with you now too, don't you?
Yep, Tracy works 4 hours a day, Monday through Thursday. And she helps receive applications while I'm not in the office. I'm currently on a Tuesday, Thursday schedule. She provides coverage in the office throughout the week, if only for the morning times. So we're able to process receipts, receive applications, add stuff to the OneDrive on a daily basis, print materials for the other commissions, and kind of she's not this isn't a fairly active commission with communications, but she's much more involved in as a point person for planning and zoning communications in the office.
So the reason why I mentioned this to the commission is because historically we have said that the Wetlands Commission should have at least 10 hours of a wetlands agent time. Now, that was without having a clerk, without having any assistance to it. So the fact that there is a clerk now that can do some of the administrative stuff would lessen that requirement of 10 hours, but I still think that the town, because of the other duties that they want him to perform or may find him of value, like going for grants, which the town might have benefit of. I think that we should be supportive that the town have at least 10 hours for the wetlands agent and other responsibilities, a 10-hour requirement, and then shift the zoning enforcement officer duties to a different individual.
I concur.
And yeah.
So Tracy is still
I just think
relatively new, and there's many things that we haven't had the opportunity to get in the office that she'd still have to experience and do a number of times before she's a seasoned land use clerk. So I think 10 hours is appropriate for sure. I don't know how it'll all shape out and where they're going to go or have to go for planning and zoning ZEO services. And I think the direction they go on there might dictate how many hours go to the wetlands agent position. But
so the reason why because the first selectman's office is the one that controls all of the budgeting for salaries, it doesn't come out of our budget, out of the wetlands budget, so that if we needed to be able to support the hours, we would need to know that there was a problem. And so if it comes up, if they say, no, we don't have money, that kind of thing, we need to know about that. If they're saying, no, we're only going to give you 5 hours for wetlands, that may not be enough time for doing wetlands. So we need to know if they start to object to supporting, saying we don't have the money. As a commission, we need to know that.
absolutely. And I hope to be participate in their hiring process for the ZEO, just to have to represent all the commission's interest in the staffing, especially the hours that go into each of these commissions. Because 1 year's work could be half of or double the next year. There needs to be a consistent amount of hours devoted to serve each of these commissions and the applications they receive. That we can't just say, oh, like for CBA, they only met once last year. They don't need anything. That's not the case because I've already met with them a couple of times in this calendar year.
So Marla, could we come in and say, and also kind of back the request up with, we're doing our due diligence in good faith, that we're reviewing the fee schedule. And if we could increase the fees for all of our wetlands applicants and permits, then that might help offset, their argument, saying we don't have the money. We could say, well, we're increasing our fees for all of the wetlands applications. So, hopefully that would help.
Yep, I agree. So we'll try to have something for the commission next month on suggested fees, because that's a regulation change.
Yep.
And that has to go to public hearing and to legal notices being published. And we haven't, there's probably a lot that we should be looking at the regs, but right now I think the fee schedule is probably the most critical thing, that given the amount of time we have to review stuff. Perhaps if commission members want to look at the regs to see if they see anything that stands out that should be modified, we could do it all at, all at once, whatever was critical, but I'm not going to do a deep dive into Woodstock's regs yet. I think the time is coming. I'm seeing the pressure building in Thompson, and once the pressure gets to a certain point in Thompson, it's going to spill over into Woodstock. And right now I'm in the midst of looking at Woodstock, Thompson's regs, and I got a lot of changes on that. But until Woodstock starts feeling the pressure, I just don't have the time to do the deep dive into the regs. The inland wetlands and watercourse agency regulations. But I do think we have enough time to be able to look at the fee schedule, because the fee schedule between the two towns is going to be basically probably the same or very similar.
Right.
So I'll bring that back next month. Or well, Dan will. I'll work with Dan on it.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else? I'll
Move to
entertain a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that, Bill Rowinski.
Motion's been made by Stuart Peasley, seconded by Bill Rowinski to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed,
see y'all.
abstained, so moved. Thank you. At 8:32 by my clock.
Wow, very early.
That's mine too, also.
All
Thank you,
right.
Dan. Thank you,
You're
Dottie.
welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Good
Have a
night.
good night.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dottie.
Good night.